Hey guys, Colin here from CH Gadgets, and this is the Google Pixel 6 Pro. And just in case you were hiding under a rock and you didn't know, Google just launched two brand new smartphones, the Pixel 6 and the 6 Pro. This is the 6 Pro, which is the more premium version of the two, and I'm definitely going to get into what is so cool about this device and why you should get one over the other. Also, if you think that this is just a continuation of Google's smartphone legacy, then you're probably wrong, because it's not. The Pixel 6 series is a defining moment for Google, where they have actually turned the corner. And almost every single thing that you thought you knew about the Google Pixel phones have changed. Which means that the Pixel 6 series is a completely new phone built from the ground up. And in this video, I'm going to tell you 4 reasons why. As always, being transparent with you guys, Google did send this over for me to check out because I'm a part of Team Pixel and this is actually a gift from Google. But make sure you watch the entire video because all the opinions shared are my own discoveries. Okay, so first thing is, Google has taken a completely different approach to how they design and build their smartphones. So gone are the days of trying to blend in with the more popular trends and design cues that was dominating the market. Google has finally made for themselves a signature design that is unlike anything that is on the market currently and definitely unlike anything they have ever done before. With a newly constructed unibody frame that is made out of some polished aluminum and a back panel that is a complete departure from previous gen Pixel phones, even though it still manages to keep some of the essence of that dual tone look of the original Pixel phones, Google's designers have added some of the most polarizing and bizarre characteristics that makes it almost impossible for this phone to blend in with any of the other flagship smartphones that are out on the market right now. And starting off with this bizarre looking camera bar, and to be completely honest, this design language is so weird and funky, it is gonna command your attention the moment your eyes capture a glimpse of it. And almost everyone that I show this device is in some kind of amazement of what it actually looks like in person. And I believe this is the design intention for the new Google Pixel phones to not only stand out and be completely different from everything else that is out right now, but also for it to invoke some kind of response when it's seen for the first time in the wild, or at least maybe even become a conversation piece. And I'm telling you right now, this new dual tone look with this weird looking camera bar is so conflicting. I think I'm falling in love. Plus, the device feels so solid and premium and well constructed in the hand that you get the feeling that it's worth $1,200 or $1,300. But the good thing is, it's only $899, which is really insane. Now, on the front, there is a 6.71-inch WQHD Plus LTPO POLED waterfall display. But we're going to come back to why the LTPO panel is so important later, but it has a pixel density of 512 per inch at a peak brightness of about 1000 nits with up to 120 Hz refresh rate that supports HDR10 Plus content and is protected by Gorilla Glass Victus. What else can I say? This is currently the largest display ever on a Pixel device and also the highest resolution, and I think the highest refresh rate with the highest brightness output. So you know the Pixel 6 Pro has a really beautiful display. It's bright, rich, vivid, color accurate with a contrast ratio of 1,000,000:1, and it's an LTPO, which means it has a variable refresh rate. And essentially what this means is there is an optimized brightness sensor that allows the OLED panel to automatically adjust the refresh rate down to as low as 1 Hz depending on what is currently being viewed on the display, and back up to 120 Hz as it's needed. And this is really cool because it not only saves battery life, it also improves the response time and reduce latency and allow for a higher peak brightness and a much higher screen resolution. So those are some of the efficiency gains that you're going to get in the Pixel 6 Pro over most previous Pixel devices. What does all of this mean? It means that this is a great display to watch content on with some amazing viewing angles. Now, it's probably not as pretty as a OnePlus 9 Pro's display, but it's just as good nonetheless. And if you're not holding them side by side and pixel peeping, you're definitely not gonna notice the difference. Okay, so this is where things get a little interesting. Google has decided to part ways with the Snapdragon platform for their own chipset. which is called a Tensor. And I'm not sure if you understand how big of a deal this is for them, but currently as it stands, Google is the second mobile phone maker that is building their own SoCs to run their own operating system, with Apple being the first. And this is a huge game changer for almost the entire industry. The new Google Tensor chipset is a 5nm octa-core processor that is built with the ARM Cortex-A76 microarchitecture, implementing the ARM v8.2-A 64-bit instruction set. And just to simplify it for you a little bit, this means that this is going to be a really powerful, really power efficient processor that is capable of improving the user's experience across even the most complex compute tasks, especially during productivity. And Google specifically used the Cortex-A76 process over what the Snapdragon platform has to offer because it improves responsiveness and at-the-edge support, machine learning and AI applications, and even some virtual experiences. By the way, this is also paired with the powerful Mali G78 MP20 GPU and Android 12 out of the box. So here's the thing, Google's biggest strength is in software and AI. And because the Cortex-A76 microarchitecture is designed for machine learning and AI applications, Google can now flex their muscles and show off their AI and machine learning prowess and do some stuff in a mobile phone that no other smartphone maker is capable of doing right now. The new Mali G78 GPU was also designed to enable high-quality console-style gaming on a mobile device. From my experience, it is snappy and fluid, and app switching is a breeze. I actually ran a few different processes back to back to stress test it and got it really hot and toasty before I started playing some games. And while it was really hot, I started playing some Genshin Impact, which is probably one of the most resource-intensive games that you could put on a mobile phone right now. And I did notice every now and then it would drop a few frames, but as soon as the temperature came back down to what I would consider warm to the touch, I didn't see any more drop frames after that. So, in my opinion, this thing is a champ because it not only performs well under pressure, it also has some really good cooling management to bring the temperature back down after my extreme stress test and my long gaming sesh. Here's my experience of Android 12 and Material You wrapped up in a little tiny sentence. It's dope and I like it. This is actually the very first time in a long time that I can actually think of where Google actually rolled out a new version of Android, and it actually feels like something new and different. The redesign is light, minimal, and refreshing, and it brings along with it some new toggles, new shapes, new colors, cool animations, and some big fat sliders, and probably one of the easiest ways to customize your phone to your weird, quirky personality, and I like it. All right, let's talk cameras, although I won't go too in depth with this since I have a dedicated camera video coming up right after this one, as well as my full review and a few comparison videos with this and some of the best-in-class flagship smartphones out right now. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Click the subscribe button, turn on notifications so you can know when those videos drop on the channel. But Google has finally made some significant upgrades to their camera hardware after using the same exact 12 megapixel IMX363 Exmor RS backside illuminated CMOS sensor for the last 3 to 4 different generations, which were doing a stellar job, might I add. However, this time around, they've decided to go total beast mode with this new system, and it's a triple camera setup that includes the 50 megapixel Samsung GN1 ISOCELL sensor that has a sensor size of 1/1.3 inch with a 26mm equivalent f1.8 wide angle lens that has a phase detection autofocus, laser autofocus, and optical image stabilization, along with a 48 megapixel IMX586 Exmor RS CMOS sensor that also has a sensor size of 1/2 inches with a 104 millimeter f3.5 telephoto lens that has phase detection, autofocus, optical image stabilization, and up to 4 times optical zoom. And there's also a 12 megapixel Sony IMX386 Exmor RS backside illuminated sensor that is a really large sensor as well at 1/2.9 inches with an 18 millimeter equivalent f2.2 114 degree field of view ultra wide lens. And this can shoot 4K at 30 and 60 frames per second and 1080p at 30, 60, 120 and 240 frames per second with gyro electronic image stabilization and optical image stabilization. And front-facing selfie camera is an 11.1 megapixel sensor with a 20 millimeter equivalent f2.2 ultra wide lens that is capable of shooting 4K at 30 frames per second and 1080 at 30 and 60 frames per second. And as you can see, Google is not playing around. Almost all of these are some really large camera sensors that is capable of taking in a lot of light. And this is definitely noticeable in the photos and videos that I've taken so far. And as I say, I'm not going to go too in depth into it right now because I have a dedicated Pixel 6 Pro camera video coming up right after this. But from what I've seen, these cameras can pull out a lot more detail and resolution in the photos with some punchy, rich colors. It's not as oversaturated as some other smartphones would do. It's a lot more natural and true to life, which is really good. Now that you have these larger sensors, the depth of field is surprisingly good. Almost DSLR-like. When you take average photos, the bokeh roll-off is so smooth and clean. I'm really impressed. But what is even more impressive is the video quality. Yo, make sure you watch my Pixel 6 Pro camera video when it drops on this channel. Okay, so don't think that I'm saying the Pixel 6 Pro is perfect, because it's not. It definitely got some quirks and annoyances, and I'm definitely gonna address those in my full review. But apart from those quirks and minor annoyances, this is a solid package, and I think it's worth the asking price. If your lifestyle is not too demanding and you don't have a need for a dedicated telephoto camera, then the Pixel 6 at $599 is a really good way to get your foot in the door and start shooting some amazing photos on your phone right now. But if you're like me and you want the ultimate of what Google has to offer, then the Pixel 6 Pro at $899 is definitely a good deal, especially for a phone that could have been sold for $1,100 or $1,200 in my opinion. All right, make sure you leave your comments down in the comment section because I'm gonna be hanging out down in there to answer all your questions. And if you want one for yourself, check the link down in the description. Make sure you subscribe with notifications turned on so that you don't miss my Google 6 Pro camera video when it drops, as well as my full dedicated review. And I also got a few comparisons coming up right after those. So make sure you click the like button and show some love. And I thank you for watching my video. It's your boy, and I'm out. Peace.